Hey gang, welcome. It is Saturday. We're going to recap everything that happened this week, all the stuff you may have missed, a whole bunch of data. There is no other place on the internet where you will find so much data in such a compressed period of time ever. And welcome to what was the biggest money-making week of the year. Absolutely bonkers. All our bags went to the moon. It's incredible. Moonvember is truly here. Andy in Australia, thank you for coming. And Sean Donnelly and TSLA and Kay, thank you all for being here. Market cap about 2.6 trillion. Bitcoin has been playing around, flirting with that 66.5 level, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, 76.4, 76.5. I'm getting $10,000 confused. It's moving up so fast. And yes, fear and greed is back to 75. And let's get into the whole story. Not financial advice. Thank you again, as always, to everybody on Patreon. Robin13 Ski just subscribed on Patreon. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who's in there. It's a fun time. Really fun time. So first of all, before we get into some stuff I mentioned a week ago, which has to be revisited because it was so prescient ahead of the election, exactly this time a week ago, but this is one that's so important. And it's a great point, and it makes for an even more compelling case for Bitcoin. And that is from Hunter Horsley, Food for Thought. The key way Bitcoin is different than equities is reflexivity. When a stock goes up, the multiple goes up, not does up. Slight typo there. At a certain point, people say this is overvalued and then become less interested until price goes down. In fact, we'll talk about a stock later in this show about exactly that. But Bitcoin is different because when Bitcoin's price goes up, people view it as more likely that it will succeed and therefore be even more valuable. And so it's likely to go up further. It's a powerful dynamic, and it is mind-blowing. And that's why, as we always say, the best advertising for Bitcoin is price. When price goes up, people get FOMO and they get interested. When price breaks a new all-time high, everything changes. And we'll prove that in a second. But this was a slide I shared last week. And I want to revisit again because I don't think anybody heard it. Because I think people would have asked me questions. And I got no questions on the fact that maybe, if history repeats, we may never see a $70,000 Bitcoin again. So 1 week ago, ahead of the US election, Bitcoin price was, I don't know, it was like 68 or so, if I recall, 67K. And people were like, whatever, and a little bit nervous about the election. But if you look at the history here, you see Bitcoin's price, 2012 election, 2016 election, 2020 election. And the trend emerged is each time the week leading up to the election marked a significant low point for Bitcoin's price. Basically, after the election happened, i.e. after the 5th of November, those prices were never visited again in history. That's profound. That price was call it 70K for the sake of argument. If history repeats, we may never see $70,000 Bitcoin again. And that's crazy. And also, shout out to Bob Loukas, who exactly a week ago said as well, the year 3 of the 4-year cycle begins now. And that's when things kick off in earnest. And Bob Loukas, and I said he's a legend in the space, he nailed it. And thank you as well, Satoshi Tracker, for coming. Let's get into the black hole, because this is also a historic week in so many ways. It's not even funny. First of all, this big spike on the right-hand side there, $1.4 billion in a day into 9 ETFs. Nonsense. Yes, we had 300 million yesterday, which looks like nothing, but still it's above that pink smiley face trend, which is good. And just for perspective, the Bitcoin bought per day yesterday was 4,036. And on Thursday, it was 18,900. That is absolutely insane. And for those of you who know, only 450 Bitcoin are mined a day, and not all those Bitcoin that are mined ever hit the market. But, as usual, I like to calculate how much, on average, since January 11th, 2024, are these ETF puppies sucking in per day on average. And I have that number. Here it is. Fidelity, 1,040 Bitcoin a day. That's nearly 2.5 times daily issuance. BlackRock, 2,120 Bitcoin a day, and the rest are crumbs. But even if you just add up Bitwise and ARK, that's 450. Those two little tiny funds suck up daily issuance from miners. And we've only just begun, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you all as well. So Joe the Hun and Colben and everybody else for being here. It is insane. But there's more, a lot more. And there's a lot more upside as well in Bitcoin per on-chain metrics. This is the Puel multiple from Blockware. And the Puel multiple is an interesting on-chain metric that measures the revenue of Bitcoin miners while also showing the potential upside in Bitcoin price. And it's actually calculated by dividing the daily revenue of miners in dollar terms by the 365-day moving average of miner revenue. In other words, how much are miners earning now relative to the past year? And the less they're earning on a relative basis, the more upside exists in price. And here we see Puel multiple is less than half of what it was in Q1 2024 and Q2 2021, which means if history repeats again, and it's been pretty darn good this year, lots of upside remains, and Bitcoin is nowhere near being overheated. Reminds me, I forgot to show the Tavi model on this, but I will next week. Now, what happens when Bitcoin hits a new all-time high? Well, you get retail FOMO. And I said, well, retail is off playing memes this year. And they were until this week. Is Google interest over time? You can see the big spike ever since the election timeframe and the new all-time high, and it's just beginning to go up. Last time was basically during the ETF launch, very late January 2024, early Feb 2025, and that's just how it works. I got 2 calls this week, 2 FOMO calls. You know, people you try to convince for 8 years to buy Bitcoin, and then they call you after 8 years. It's like, is it too late? And that's always happens every single cycle. It's hilarious. It's like you can almost predict it. Anyhow, thank you, Drew Travels. The other thing as well I'd like to revisit too is a lot of people saying, oh, 77K, now it's going to sell off because that's what people are going to do. They're going to take profit. But I'll prove they're not. I'll also show you we're not actually at an all-time high. In fact, if you take fake government CPI numbers, which aren't real, of course, they're a lot worse than meets the eye. But if you take the price, previous all-time high back in 2021 of Bitcoin being 69,000, and you debase it using government fake data, Bitcoin is still under the price in 2021. And remember, keep in mind, the government data is way off. But if you use just this government data alone, the all-time high adjusted to today's dollars would be exactly $84,334. We've only hit $77,300 so far. So we are exactly $11,000 away from the all-time high in real dollar terms. Remember, if you're sitting on a pile of cash, it's melting. Imagine that's a chair. You're going to fall about an inch every year. Maybe even more, actually, depending on how much they print. And the printing is insane. Wait till I show you a chart in a minute, too. Now, other news hit, and I know every time I mention Plan B, people go, oh, God, Plan B. But no, he's sharing information on the stock-to-flow model, so it's very valid what he does, and big respect to the guy. But let's take, he comes out with a new price target, and it got a lot of people excited. He said, Bitcoin will surpass 250,000, says the analyst Plan B, and here's his timeline. And the first thing everybody asks is when and how much and everything else. Well, when these magazines, they write these titles, they're always there to kind of be clickbaity. But this one is actually even better when you dig into everything that Plan B said. First of all, he said, stock to flow in 4 years has a price somewhere between $250,000 and $1 million. So that's not bad. And that's also very realistic because in 4 years we get to 2028, 2029. We'll be through another whole cycle and we'll be kicking off after another election. So yeah, we could easily be at $1 million. But even if not, 250 is not bad either. Ronan, thank you so much for coming too. And either way, I think that's quite reasonable. And a fact of life, everybody, I know people hate stock to flow, but it works in broad brushstrokes. And remember, markets are cyclical, but overall, the price of an asset is a function of scarcity. Zoom back to this one here from Hunter Horsley. Says it all, okay? We kicked off with that. I thought it was very profound. So that's stock to flow. Let's get into a little bit more on-chain as well to show us one of the other pieces of good news. And the sellers are muted despite the all-time high. Normally, when we hit an all-time high, sellers hit the sell button and get rid of their bags and get some lifestyle chips. But this one, we've seen a shift in supply from long-term holders to short-term holders, but it's been very muted. And there's two ways for an increase in demand to find supply. One is from the 450 new Bitcoin mined per day, which we illustrated here are being absolutely savagely gobbled up by the ETFs. So that's gone. Then the other thing is for the long-term holders to sell, to be parted with their dearest coins. Now, so far, there's far more demand that can be matched by the selling from the miners. Way more, like I've illustrated. And number two, the only option is on chain, and that is for the long-term holders to sell. And even at 77K, 76K, 75K, they were not selling. And so this means it tells us we are in the early innings of a massive bull market, and there's a lot more upside ahead. So everybody, stop giving up the ghost. We have a long road to travel. And I'm just showed you a whole bunch of different proof points that illustrate that too. Also, AltSeason's creeping in. For those waiting for AltSeason to happen, this is the first time we've seen it spike in quite a few months. We're up at 37 right now. And that takes us to the next story, which requires a little bit of analytics, which I did for you all, because there was a cool question that came in. First of all, this one is flying around. Anna Stu, thank you for coming as well. This is Standard and Chartered. They said they see the crypto market cap going to $10 trillion by 2026 end. Okay, so if that's true, this is kind of weird, because if that's true, that means there's no bear market, because the bear market should kick in end of 2025. And this goes to my other theory, which got changed dramatically when MicroStrategy said they're going to buy 42 billion worth of Bitcoin. That's enough to buy all the miner supply. Just that one buyer. Forget the ETFs, forget everything else, forget pensions. It's kind of insane, and we are facing that kind of supply crunch. Now, if Standard Chartered is correct with this analysis, we go to 10 trillion end of 2026, that means we might not get a bear market like we had in the past. And this takes me to the next question. Shout out to, I blocked his name, just in case scammers are out there trying to find people. I hope you don't mind, but you know who you are. What do you guys think Sol will be when Bitcoin hits 100K? And I said the math is in today's show, plus 10 trillion market cap math. So I'm going to do that for both, all of you right now too. And the question was again, what price would Sol be if Bitcoin goes to 100K? Let's get into it. And before we do, hang on, slides are slightly out of order. I'll come back to it, but this is important. And it dovetails into why everybody's talking about Solana all of a sudden. And I've been talking about it since 2021. Anyhow, this is Toly. Toly calls Ethereum assets legacy. Toly drops a bombshell. We can start calling Ethereum assets legacy assets. Solana co-founder shares his vision for the future of blockchain in a wide-ranging interview on the Lightspeed podcast with friend of the channel, Mert. And it was a very good show. But I wanted to try and, those words could have many different meanings, but what he means is he is positioning Solana as the next evolution of blockchain technology. And he spoke a lot about speed and finality, and implying that Ethereum is outdated and very irrelevant compared to Solana. And that's what he means by calling the Ethereum assets legacy, suggesting Solana's tech is more advanced and future-proof than Ethereum's, and he envisions a future where Solana becomes a primary platform for decentralized applications and digital assets, stock exchanges, etc., and of course continues to surpass Ethereum in adoption and usage, which it already does by a far stretch. And Ethereum's current dominance in the smart contract and DeFi space may be challenged by Solana's growth and technological advantages. Again, this kind of sums up what I've been saying for a long time. Better, cheaper, faster, more secure. That's what the world wants. The world cannot wait 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 2 minutes for a finality or deal with complex layer 2s that are centralized, etc. So it was interesting that was said. And that takes us back to the original question. What is the price of Solana if Bitcoin goes to 100,000, which I believe is very, very possible? In fact, funny, in yesterday's show, I said my target's 120K, which I've been saying since 2023 for this cycle. And everybody's like, oh, you're so bearish, 120,000. Oh, remember, when you're buying Bitcoin at 15 or 16 grand, it goes to 120. That's a bonkers return, everybody. So don't get greedy. But here, if Bitcoin dominance remains, it's currently at 59%. Current crypto market cap, not Bitcoin market cap, is 2.6 trillion. The Bitcoin market cap will be 1.534 trillion. And if Bitcoin goes to 100K and the dominance remains 59%, that would take the total crypto market cap to $3.422 trillion. And I haven't answered the question yet. What is the price of Solana? Well, here it is in my funky little table. Here, I plugged in the CMC of 3.4 trillion and assumed Solana dominance of 4%, which is what it's pretty close to right now. And that would take us to $303. And my bull case for Solana in 2023 was about 363, if I recall, but somewhere between 250 and 363. But we almost got to 250 the other day, which is crazy too. Now, the next part of this is what happens if the crypto market cap goes to 10 trillion. What is the price of Solana? And again, assuming the same dominance, which I think will be a lot higher if that happens, because Ethereum technologically will wither away. Sorry, ETH maxis, just a fact of life. But that would take the price to $891. Remember, we were buying this puppy at $8 not too long ago. And for it to go to nearly 900, the returns are just completely face melting. If you are from the traditional investing world, they wouldn't even believe you if you told them. So anyway, there are the numbers. We'll see what happens. Either way, it'll be a fun ride. Now, there are some tailwinds you need to be aware of. This is the stuff that Marty's been talking about for a while. FTX will start the refund of $16 billion in cash to their customers. Many of these customers held a lot of Solana, and now they're going to be getting money back, $16 billion. Bear case, I assume. Bear case is 1/16 of that coming back into Solana. If you get something ripped away from you, you get cash back, you probably want to buy that thing you had before back again. So I do believe that could pump, and I can do some calculations on exactly what that means in terms of price appreciation, given that money inflow. We'll see if $1 billion comes back in, and we'll track exactly when that money is coming. Now, back to crypto. DeFi is back. These are the top narratives and performers of the last month. DeFi up 44.2%. Monstrous move. Memes got dethroned, and Ethereum had a bounce back too, up 29.7%. Bitcoin up 26.2% for the month. Again, it's all been very good. And as usual, you get a lot of talk out there about, oh, look, Coin X is outperforming this right now, so therefore it's a winner. No. Every dog will have its day, and I love dogs, so I don't want that to be a smirch on the reputation of dogs. But this is the zombie tracker. Okay, we've always shared this. This is now the distance from all-time high from the crypto compendium. And in the box, things that are basically 60% plus away from all-time high. Some names are on there that are kind of shocking. Cardano, 85% off of all-time high, and people are excited this week. Aave's there, Cardano's there, Arbitrum's there, Cosmos, Avalanche, Bitcoin Cash, CRO had a big week, Ethereum Classic, Fetch, Filecoin, Phantom, HBAR, ICP, Mutable X, Chainlink, Litecoin, Near, XLM, XMR, XRP, all the X's. If you're ever starting a chain, never start it with the letter X. Uniswap, Celestia, and Matic, the new Matic, all in the dead zone, okay? The money and the activity and the users are all moving to new chains. That is indisputable, okay? If you're clinging onto your old chain, cling away. I don't care anymore because I've given up trying to convince people. Spent too many years trying to do that. Now, these are the returns for the top 50 cryptos over the last 30 days, again from the Crypto Compendium. Dogecoin, number 1, nearly 100% return. Number 2, Solana. Number 3, CRO. After being kind of a laggard, it popped back to life. Not sure why. And then on the bottom right-hand side, the 4 worst performers, Near, Immutable X, Tau, and Kaspa. But let's have another look at another change from all of these dashboards that I watch every single day to see what's coming and what the winners could be. Maybe there's some new things there. But this is fully diluted market cap divided by the number of daily transactions. And we have a new leader. And by the way, you don't want to be a big blue bar on this chart. Based on how I value one of the many 69 metrics I use to appraise crypto, this one, Ethereum, is now topping the charts at $299,405 of fully diluted market cap per transaction. Number 2 is Stacks, $298. Stacks was top for a long time, and then Cardano was top about a month ago. But Cardano's now third at $274,000 of market cap per daily transaction. That's ridiculous. Solana's about $2,000. So again, these things are very overpriced. Maybe they're special, maybe they're old, whatever. That's not how they should be appraised. They need to get like 1,000x better in that metric to even qualify with the leaders in space. 100x, 1,000x, whatever. Anyhow, speaking of change in the space and the new emerging technology taking over, SUI is now breaking out live as we speak to a new all-time high. This is SUI on the ATR model, breaking up to the upside, doing very well. Price now is over $2.46. And yes, even though this chain, as I've analyzed, it is no Solana, but still it does many things almost as good as, one thing faster, that's better, as finality too. So watch for the new players very carefully. In addition, Jupiter, which runs on Solana, is breaking out to the upside as well, which is fascinating to see. Again, we are seeing everything pop this week. It is quite incredible, this Moonvember. So I hope everybody's enjoying it out there and enjoying good times. Now, let's get into a tiny bit of macro, and then we get to some stocks. We'll talk about Tesla and the Block Square, some changes they made. This is from E.J. Anthony. And the recent administration has added over $8 trillion to federal debt in less than 4 years, and also running down Treasury cash by over $1 trillion over that period. E.J. Anthony calls it fiscal malfeasance. They are spending money like it's no tomorrow. And there's lots of stuff out there that this administration has spent less than the previous. That's not true. That's just FUD. So you can check the math yourself. Also, a little bit of sad market timing news. Cathie Wood sold 262,000 Tesla shares at an average price of $245. And then, right after she sold, this happened. It was just really bad. I feel so bad because literally within hours of her selling, the stock went up $80. And she's leaving about $21 million on the table. And that was kind of illustrates the importance of market timing. And I know her fund, they can't hold more than a certain percentage of a certain asset, so they have to sell when it goes up. But for heaven's sake, change that rule. Let your winners ride. You guys know what to do. Anyhow, wild week for Tesla. Absolutely crazy. Having another view of Tesla. Remember, we're still off the all-time high of 420. That's level 6. But the good news, for the first time since April or March 2022, Tesla got back to level 5 on the ATR model. So it's been a great time. Consider all that space that we had from late 2022 all the way to summer 2024. We had 22 months to stack Tesla, the most disruptive company ever on the face of the planet. And it was a dream. And people were complaining, oh, Tesla's not going anywhere. So you don't want it to go anywhere. You want it to stay down. In fact, if I had my preference, I'd want it to stay under 300 till middle of next year and then rotate into it. But looks like that's not going to happen. Anyhow, bonkers week. And other changes last week too is Block, the Square, Jack Dorsey here. They are scaling back their tidal investment. One of the key things in business is learn to fail fast. If you find you're going down the wrong path, quit. But they picked up I think it was a music streaming platform in 2021, and they just decided to, with it struggling, etc., in the very competitive music streaming industry, scale it back and layoffs in departments, etc. So that's good. They're killing something that's not working. But there was a lot of hope as well for their project called TBD, and that was an initiative aimed at building decentralized internet platform dubbed as Web 5. And I think they're also scaling back that down too. They've decided to discontinue it as part of its strategic shift in favor of just focusing on Bitcoin mining. I know they wanted to find a way of kind of democratizing Bitcoin mining. I don't know where they are with that at all, with their own mining chip. But either way, it's good to see. Now, I did own Square back in the day. I got in 2020 during that great day in March 2020. We were just buying everything on a huge dip. But ever since late 2021, the trend has just been down pretty much and dead. And again, Block is technically, it would be classified as a zombie on the ATR model. And it's down at level 1, just above level 1 right now. So it's good that they are at last looking at their internals. And hopefully they can get back to their winning ways, because they've been gone all 2022, all 2023, and all 2024. So, and it can be very frustrating for people to own such stocks for such a long period of time. They go nowhere. Happens with crypto too. So remember, be on the winning horses that are moving, like all the stuff that moved this week, big time, and not in stuff that's a zombie for now. I do believe Jack Dorsey can revise the company, so good luck to him. Also, penultimate story of the day. First-time home buyers disappear. This is kind of a sad story because for 10, 15 years ago, first-time home buyers were 50% of the market. Now it's 24%. And I don't know the exact reason, but I can guess. One, younger people that typically want to buy a home, they're being priced out of the market. Number two, mortgage rates are far too high for them to even afford a house. And number three, of course, the people that are holding houses, they're not selling them. And that is a big impact. Another crazy stat is I think the median age for first-time home buyers went from about 32 to 34 years of age up to 38 years of age, which is crazy. And the overall mean age of home buyers has reached an all-time high of 56 years old. So the young people aren't able to buy homes, basically, is what this chart's saying, which makes me very sad. Hopefully, with your crypto gains at the end of this market, you can buy your castle. Everybody needs a castle, okay? Everybody needs a castle. And final piece of news, Drew, from Doomberg. This is the total carbon emissions, and I know there's been a lot of green transition, green laws, etc., across the United States at state and local levels. And you can see they have actually reduced the amount of carbon emission. So well done. There's also a lot more electrification of everything with solar panels and wind and things like that, which helps. But none of this matters when you look at how much China is producing. Even if the US went to zero, okay, if they went from their 4 billion tons of carbon to zero, China will soon be at 16. So big picture, the world needs to work together if they want to fix this problem. Or if people think it's not a problem, who cares? I'm just sharing a chart. Don't shoot the messenger. Thank you all for coming. Happy Saturday. Tomorrow, noon Pacific, will be the live Q&A. And we will look at all of the top questions for the week. And I know that a lot of the questions are, what should I do now? I'm sitting on cash. How do I deploy? Should I take profits, etc., etc.? So it'll be an interesting one. Tomorrow, noon, same place. See ya in 24 hours. Thank you as well to the mods in the chat. Happy Saturday. Go out and touch the grass, as they say. See you later. Bye-bye.